So yeah, thanks everybody so much for joining. Really excited about this live webinar. Today, again, my name's Jordan. I'm a customer success manager here at monday.com. We're going to talk about how you can use our platform as a CRM for your business. It's really one of the most common questions that we receive as a CS team here at monday.com is, can I use this to manage my contacts and leads? Can I use your platform to keep track of my sales funnel, for example? So I'm here to tell you that yes, you can. And I'm going to show you exactly how today. We're going to walk through some best practices for setting this up in today's webinar. Let's go over the agenda quickly, so give you an idea of what to expect. First, we're going to discuss a little bit about CRM in general. What is a CRM? What do you need from a CRM, and how we can set up the basics within monday.com? And then what are some things kind of going to a more advanced level? What are some things that would be really nice to have from a CRM solution? And walk through some ways that we can configure that in the platform. Going to save some time for Q&A as well. I've got my awesome colleague Lauren along with me today, and she's going to be taking your questions and answering those throughout the webinar where possible, but we're also going to reserve some time at the end for as much Q&A as we can. A few housekeeping items really quickly. As I said, you can ask your questions at any time. Please do use the Q&A at the bottom. It is the section at the very bottom of the Zoom, and that's going to basically keep your question front and center as opposed to putting it into the chat where it could get lost and pushed down throughout the process. So again, use the Q&A. Try to answer everyone I can. If it's not answered for any reason by me or Lauren, please feel free to reach out to us, support@monday.com. Audio should be coming through your computer speakers. If for any reason you see anything or can't hear, let us know in the chat box and we'll try to help you out. And of course, following the webinar recording, a couple of people have asked this already. It will be available on demand. You can access it at monday.com/webinars, but we're also going to send out via email to everyone who registered, which should include all of you because you're here. You've obviously therefore registered. Awesome. So let's jump in here. First, let's talk about what is a CRM. It's a customer relationship management tool. That's what the acronym stands for. And companies of all shapes and sizes use this to manage your interactions with your current and potential customers. Ultimately, it's used to improve business relationships with customers, focusing on customer retention and driving sales growth. That's kind of the why, and because everyone wants happy customers. So here's a live look at all of your customers when using monday.com as a CRM. For some reason, all your customers have gathered at a music festival and they are cheering on their favorite band, but you get the idea. What do we need from a CRM? So kind of table stakes, what do we need to get? We need to keep a record of all our clients and their associations. What company do they work for? What's their industry, perhaps? Any tag that we can use to sort of associate and filter our clients, whatever is relevant to your industry or your company. We need to maintain the contact information. So we need a place where everyone on our team can quickly access name, number, email, location, etc. Those are kind of the starting points. What are some things that are maybe nice to have? So this we're looking at, I'd love to be able to capture my leads, so directly when the customer life cycle starts, they've expressed interest in utilizing my company or paying for our services. So that at the very beginning of that, can I capture that lead into my CRM and manage them all the way through the customer life cycle? I need to keep a record of communication, emails from myself and my teammates all in one place so that I can quickly and easily get the full context of a customer's history with us. What are the things we've told them? What does their interaction with us look like? Are they upset? Are they happy? Are they advocates? We need a nice to have is an ability to automate your workflow. So as a sales team and as a customer success team, we're doing lots of stuff on a very regular basis that are things that are probably recurring tasks. And any way we can build in some automation and streamline things, that's going to be a win for our team. And of course, building in, as we're talking about new leads and bringing them into our potential ecosystem, seeing sales forecasts and understanding how we're doing as a sales team and really taking the pulse of our business as a whole. Those are some of the things that are really nice to have. Awesome. So let's jump over here. And all right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about how you can actually set up and utilize monday.com as a CRM. So a couple things to note right off the top is simply, this is one suggested workflow. Businesses come in all shapes and sizes and they have different needs. This is just one way to get you thinking towards how can I utilize the objects and the tools available to me within monday.com in an intelligent way to manage my business for my needs. So don't feel like you need to be married to this, but this is certainly one way that you can utilize things. So I want to make that clear from the top. Also, the second thing, given that this is not a basic walkthrough of the platform necessarily, this is going to be some high level stuff just because I want to get through as much as possible. So I'm not going to spend as much time during this webinar going into the nitty-gritty details of how to do a specific thing. Anything that I show you is going to be available at support.monday.com. We have knowledge-based articles, tutorials that walk you through everything. So I may show you a feature, but not necessarily explain how to set it up, because I want you to get ideas of what you have available to you in the platform. So let's take a look at how we can kind of on a high level use this. So I just want to review these 3 boards that I have created here and the way that each of them is intended to function. And then I'll walk you through a real world example of how this can work from the very beginning of customer lifecycle all the way through to the end. So this board I've created here, my amazingly clever name for my company, most clever name for marketing agency you've ever seen. That is my small business, and I provide design, photography, video, branding services. I help businesses tell their story, and I do that in a lot of different ways. So I've created this board as a way to manage my business, manage the incoming leads, and to allow my sales team to work these leads all the way through the process of beginning to discussion about our product, to demoing the platform, showing the services that we provide, all the way through to signing them up and getting them on board as a customer. So this board is going to be used as kind of the starting point, and I'm actually going to use a form to capture leads directly into the board. So that's some of that automation we're talking about. A user can just submit a form and it will come in here and my team can take over from there. The second board that I'm using that kind of ties into that. So once we've worked through the sales process, I've got a database board here that is essentially a record of all of my existing customers. So, they come in through the form, my sales team works with them, they decide to sign up, perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and move them over to our customer database, and I can keep a lot of information about them here. I can allow my CS team and my account management team to go in here and really deliver that wow experience, that delightful experience that turns new customers into brand advocates and lifetime customers. So I'll show you how that works. And then the third board that we'll touch on just very briefly is the nitty-gritty actual work that's being done and how you can connect that into the CRM ecosystem as a whole and connect customers to specific projects that you're actually working on for them. So that's kind of the high-level overview of these 3 boards that I've created, which kind of taken as a whole serve as sort of that customer relationship management solution that we're talking about today. All right, so let's dive in. Again, I want to kind of take you through a real-world example. So again, for this case, I'm a marketing agency, and I deliver client services in the form of design, branding, marketing, web solutions, photography, etc. And I have a small business. I have a team of sales reps. And so what I'm going to do is create this board that has a lot of different column types that are all pieces of information that I want to gather from my potential customers. So phone, name, email, location, potentially what services they're interested in. And then the second half of this board is really going to be more for internal use. Once I receive the information that I need from the customer, then my team is going to start filling out this information, and this is where they'll work through the sales process kind of from about this point to the right. So we've got a lot of different things going on here. I'll kind of walk you through how each of those work. But first and foremost, the starting process is somebody saying that they're interested in my service. So on any board, you can create a form view. And essentially what this is, if you look at it, it's just from top to bottom, all of the columns that you have on your board from left to right. So you want to structure your board first with all the information that you want, a text column, which is our far left pulse name column, a text column for the contact name, an email column for email address, phone number, drop down, etc. So you get the concept here. And then what I'm going to do when I set up my form, you can do some customization. I can include a company logo. I can change the background color to match my branding. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and fill out all this information here. So if you want to change the header or put a description in for what information you're seeking, you can customize all that. And then for every column, you've got two options here. You can either make it visible or invisible to the client, and you can make it required or not. And the thought process here is some of these columns, which is kind of the second half of this board, deal size, deal stage, those are things that I'm going to fill out after the fact. So I've made those invisible and the user will not see those. So that's kind of the options here with each column, but I want to get the lead's name, the organization they're with, their name, their email address. I'm making phone number, not required, just because some people don't prefer to give their phone number out right away, and I can respect that. This is a drop-down column. A really nice thing about the drop-down column is I can add custom labels. These are all the services that I provide. And so I've created these, and drop-down columns are great when you need something to be more than one thing at a time. So a status column, for example, if I were to use that, they would only be able to choose design or branding or marketing. But I know in a lot of cases, my customers they're interested in more than one type of service. So I'm using a drop-down column here and allowing multiple selections, and then I've made that clear in my description. And I want to know how many employees. So I'm using a numbers column. Give me an idea of what your business looks like, what your company looks like. That's going to help me on my side as a business owner better understand who I'm appealing to, and I can fine tune my marketing and targeted marketing in a more intelligent and informed manner. So this is what the form is going to look like. Over here on the right, you've got some customization options. So you can choose which group you want your new form submissions to come into. I'm going to choose new leads, which is the top of my board. If I open this, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about here. I've got 4 different groups on my board, and I want the new submissions to come in at the very top. You can also set a custom message when they're done. Thank you. Someone should be contacting you within 1 to 2 days. That's my kind of lead time that I'm giving my sales reps. So I'm going to put that there. You could redirect them if you want, and a couple of other options here. But this is ultimately what I'm going to use to capture my leads. And so what does this look like? Now what do I do once I've got this set up? So you can share the form. You can do it in 2 ways, directly through a link. So this could be great to hyperlink to on my website. I could send it out in an email campaign blast, and I could even embed it on my website. So if I want to keep it directly in my site, I could go ahead and use this embed code, and that way users can fill it out directly. And if I hit preview here, this is what it's going to look like for your users. Okay, so let's walk through a option here. So I'm going to say my organization is Johnny's Cupcakes Stand, and who do I want to contact? So Johnny's cake, sure. Email address, we'll put that in here, johnny@cupcakes.com. And then I'm not going to put in a phone number, but let's say I'm interested in design and marketing. How many employees? I'm a small shop, but the cupcake game is really taking off, so I'm expecting to grow quickly. But I go ahead and submit that, and you'll see I get my success message. Thank you. Someone should be contacting you within 1 to 2 days. Perfect. So let's go back to the board and see what happens from here. All right, so you'll see that I've got a new item, a new submission on my new leads group. So this came in automatically, and I've set up a couple of automations to help notify when a new lead comes in, because obviously Users could be submitting this at any time, and I want to make sure that I'm notified and taking the proper steps. So what I did, I'll walk through, I've got 9 automations set up here. But this first one here, so I'm just saying whenever a new item is created, notify me. And I've gone ahead and set this up. The who could be a static value. So maybe you have a sales rep or a sales lead and you want them to be notified every time because they're assigning it. Or it could be whoever is in a specific column. But for this case, since it's a new lead, I want to be notified every time. And then I've customized the notification. So you can do this as well. When you define the notify value, I say, good news, we have a new lead, and I'm using the item name value. Any of these you can select and add into your notification, and it will pull in whatever is in that specific column. So good news, we have a new lead. Johnny's Cupcakes has inquired about, and then I'm using the drop-down menu to say they've inquired about design and marketing. They would like to be contacted. Please assign the most capable sales rep available with haste. So that's kind of the first part of this automation notification. I get the new lead comes in, and I'm going to see a automation notification here. I'm also going to get an email if you've got your email notifications enabled. So not losing track of it, I understand quickly when a new potential lead has come in. All right, so from there, as the sales lead, I want to understand who's going to take this and run with it. And so what I'm going to do is I need to understand current workload for all my sales reps, and that's going to help me assign this new incoming lead. And so to do that, I went ahead and created a chart view, which you can just do add view. This is how you add charts and forms. So I went ahead and set this one up. And what I've done is created a bar chart, and I'm using the sales rep as my x-axis. So I'm seeing who's assigned here. Oops. At the very bottom. And then I'm weighting by 2 different things. I'm weighting by count. So this tells me, okay, how many objects do they have? How many leads do they have assigned to them? And then also deal size. So this is telling me what's the deal size of their current workload, right? So the one thing missing here though is I want to see what do they have active. I don't necessarily care about all of the total things that they have ever worked or are currently working. I want to know what is active. So to do that and kind of fine tune my view a little bit, I'll come over to the filter and I will go to any group that I'm using or really any object that I'm pivoting on in the board I can use as a filter. So I want to go here and see active leads because that's my top group, right? That's where I'm working leads. Once they're won, lost, or otherwise, they go somewhere else. And then you'll see the option to save to this view. So I had already created this view. If I hadn't, you would see save to new view. But I've modified it by adding this filter, and I'm going to save to this view. So now my view changes a little bit. I can understand that I've got 1 active deal for each of these 2 sales reps. I've got 2 active deals for each of these. So that's kind of how I'm going to understand as a sales lead what to do with this new incoming lead. So given that information, I'm going to go with Preppy. Zach's going to get the lead, and I'm going to go ahead and assign it here. He's going to get a notification. And then the next thing I will do is talk about this deal stage column a little bit. So internally, we as a sales team have kind of identified all the different stages that our deals typically go through. And so, this is going to be custom based on your workflow, but for us, it's, initial contacts, ongoing discussion. We've reached demo stage, sales qualified. I've determined that there is an opportunity here. I've sent a proposal, and each of these is going to be kind of the different phase of our sales process. Now, the cool thing I've done is actually linked these columns here. So once I start to get an understanding of the potential deal size, after I start that conversation and we've had some dialogue, I can go ahead and enter a value here. And then depending on the stage that I'm in, I'm actually using this formula column to assign it a probability. And so what I've done is I'm looking for each of these stages, and if it says initial contact, that's, historically we've been able to close about 10% of all incoming leads. So I'm going to assign that a value of 10. If it goes to ongoing discussion, or maybe even it reaches demo stage, I have historically know, based on the data that I have as a sales lead, that we're able to close 50% of all deals that reach demo stage. So I've gone ahead and set up a formula to assign a value based on the stage that we're in, and then it will take that times the deal size potential and give me a forecasted value. So all this is the deal size times the deal probability divided by 100. So, you know, a 200,000 potential deal, I can forecast that as 100,000 in forecasted revenue because we're already at demo stage and I'm going to close 50% of those deals. So that's kind of the thought process here. But the very beginning is going to be initial contact. So once I've assigned this lead to Zach, I'm going to change this to initial contact, and a couple of things are going to happen. So the first thing you'll see there, it jumped all the way from new leads to active leads. That's going to be another automation. And then the second thing it did, I'm using these two, a status and a date column, to control. I want to simplify it for my sales team and say, just keep track of what your next action stage is and when it's due, because every sales process is different. Maybe it's an email. Maybe the customer's going to be out of town for 4 weeks and they say, hey, call me back on this date, and then we can pick up the conversation. So I'm just going to keep track very simply of what the status of my next task is and when that task is due. And this is going to automatically set to September 20th or 2 days out from when I assign it. And the reason for that is because of another automation I created, which is when deal stage changes to initial contact, move it to the active leads group. So it did that. And then it also, when deal stage changes to initial contact, set the next action due to the current date plus 2 days. So you can, you know, modify this if your workflow is different. But for me, I think when a new lead comes in, as long as I'm getting in touch within 48 hours, that tends to work for my sales team. Excuse me, I'm going to grab a quick drink of water. A lot of talking here. All right. So we've moved the lead from new lead to active. I've assigned it. My sales rep has an understanding that they need to get started on this deal. And I've also used an automation to make sure that I notify when the next action is due on the day of. So I just set it to when the date arrives at 9 a.m. So when this date arrives, go ahead and notify the sales rep. This is going to be a really nice way as kind of an added layer to just make sure that they're getting a notification, they're understanding start of their day at 9 a.m. Okay, I've got these 3 actions to do on these 3 deals. So pretty straightforward there as well. So a couple of things will start to happen here as the sales rep starts to work this lead. They're going to start filling in this information, and you know, they get an understanding of where things are. They maybe get a phone number. They can kind of fine tune which industry they're in. This is helpful because I just like to understand, you know, where my business is coming from. So Johnny's Cupcake is probably going to be a restaurant, retail, and then a deal size. So as they start to have that conversation, they get to understand the scope, and Cupcake game is kicking. So, you know, this is going to be a big deal potentially. And we're in our initial contact. Maybe we've already had some back and forth. We're in ongoing discussion. So this is going to bump up to 25%. That's going to tell me what my forecasted value is of this specific deal. I can also prioritize it as a sales lead. You know, I can come in here and say, a lot of opportunity in the cupcake market. Let's go ahead and make this a high priority deal. That lets Zach kind of know how to prioritize things on his end. And also we've marked, another automation here is marked when this came in. So whenever a new form is submitted, the deal start date is going to be marked here. And the reason that I want to track that is because if I win the deal, I want to understand how many days it took me to close. So this column will automatically timestamp if I change the contract to signed or the deal stage to won. So these are all kind of working together to give me some good information as a sales lead about how long I'm taking to close deals. So one thing that, you know, is really important in a CRM ecosystem is, of course, capturing that communication. So, you know, as a sales rep, I can use my updates for every item here. I can keep track of all my call notes, anything I need to do. Maybe, as I was saying, the user's going to be out for 4 weeks. I can make a note here and just say, hey, they're going on vacation. going to follow up, set next action for that date. All that can be tracked here. And of course, email communication is going to be big. So if you're using the email column, you can click here to automatically send an email and CC it into the specific item. So I'll have my sales reps do that for outbound emails. That way I can see the record of communication. And you'll just choose whatever your default email client is. That's going to be specific to your computer. And that's going to, maybe Gmail, maybe Thunderbird, Apple Mail, whatever it is. When you click this, that will open and it will automatically CC this address right here. So the communication is captured in the update. And then incoming email, that's where we're going to touch on. We actually have an integration. So this is kind of the email column. That's one bucket of how you can use email. The second bucket is a bit more advanced, and it involves connecting your hosted Gmail or Outlook email account to monday.com. And to do that, you can go to the integration center, and you can choose Gmail or Outlook, whichever makes sense for you. And you can actually create recipes. And so it's the same idea as automations, except we're creating recipes that actually connect with an external service. And so what I want to do is set up at least a very simple one to say, when an email from, and I'm going to say any email, so you can set conditions, but I'm going to say when any email comes in that matches an email in this column, go ahead and add it as an update. So as soon as somebody with a matching email address emails to my connected inbox, it's going to copy in here automatically. The other one I set up, which is kind of a nice way to inform a lead that you've received their inquiry, when a new item is created, so again, that'll trigger when a new form is submitted, I'm going to go ahead and send this email. It says, thanks for your interest, hello, and I'm going to choose their name, hello, person's name. Thank you so much for your interest in our services. It's being reviewed. One of our consultants will reach out within 48 hours. So this is going to go out automatically because they're giving me their email address when they submit the form. So just another kind of nice touch to let them know that we're looking into it. All right, cool. Trying to think if there's anything on this specific board we haven't touched on. We're using a file column here just to keep track of contracts. So if you send a contract out to a customer, you can go ahead and upload it here. And to do that, you can just click right here, upload directly from your computer. So I can just do like a placeholder here as a PDF document, and you'll see that that loads in. And then I have access to that for later, and I can reference it. And I'll show you why that is important later on as well, but it's just nice to keep everyone on the same page. So we're going through this sales process with Johnny's Cupcake Stand. Things are going well. We've got all our communication logged. And so let's say I've gotten to the point where I've actually sent out a contract and they're taking a look at it. And so at this point, we're probably in the proposal review phase, and this is going to increase my proposed my deal forecast. Everything goes perfect, and they sign. They want to be a customer. We're going to provide services for them. Amazing. So what I'm going to do is change my contract to signed, and we got another couple of automations that kick in. So what that'll do is it'll move it down here to my one group. It's going to change the deal stage to 1, and it's going to move this to 100%. So now my forecasted value is, of course, full value, and it's going to be logged down here and moved out of my active leads, which is important because I'm using the dashboard to tie to different groups and understand what's in my active pipeline versus, the business that I've already closed. So from there, now we've got it's gone from lead to customer. And so from here, what I want to do is keep track of this customer. I've still got all the record, all the details, all the information I need. And so in order to do that, and you can see here too that this became a customer date automatically timestamped due to another automation. Doesn't make sense because of the example, but let's say that this had started on September 10th. So now this formula column tells me, awesome, that took 8 days to close, did an awesome job here. And I'm getting that information, getting my average, and I can filter all this out by individual as well. So I can get a drilled down understanding of how well each specific sales rep is doing in terms of amount closed, amount in their pipeline, days to close, etc. So we've got this customer, they're new to our business, and what we're gonna do from here, I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate the item and the updates. The reason I'm gonna do that, you could just move the item to your customer's board if you wanted, but I'm actually pulling some reporting from this one group on my sales board, so I actually wanna keep it here, and maybe what I'll do is just say, this is now my deal object, and this is now my customer object, right? So I've duplicated this, and I'm gonna go ahead and move this over to my customer's board and take further action from there. You could do this a couple ways. One easy way would be to just duplicate this board that you've created. So you've got all the same columns, and then you could just delete the ones that aren't relevant and then add in additional ones that you might need from a CS standpoint. But what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just move this to my customer's board, and I'm gonna put it in unassigned. And it's going to tell me that some of these columns don't exist over there. That's fine because I don't need all of them on that board. So I'm going to move anyway. All right, so we've moved the object over here. So let's go take a look. So I've got the Johnny's Cupcake stand. It's in my unassigned, and you'll see a lot of that information transferred over here. So I haven't entered the phone number yet, but assuming I had, but I still have all this information. I've got the contract. Now what I can do is go ahead and set the renewal date based on here's when they became a customer. This is really useful for CS and account managers to say, put an automation in place, for example, to say the renewal date is 1 month away. That's going to allow me to take proactive action and understand, whatever your CS process is. A lot of people like to do that proactive kind of routine, regular check-ins. You can keep track of all of that here on this board, set up your renewal date, put an automation in place, make sure that someone is reaching out. And so in my system, I've got sales reps, and then once we've won the business, I want someone to be in charge of being an account manager, making sure that they're onboarding them properly, making sure that they are answering all their questions, setting them up for long-term success. Again, the idea being they're a customer, but I want them to be advocates and lifetime customers. And so I'm going to be able to manage all of that here on this board while keeping the context of the organization, where they're located, who's my main point of contact, company size, industry, all that information, as well as, understanding how valuable the client is in terms of dollars and cents. I can go ahead and set the time zone so I know, okay, when is a good time to contact this customer if they're overseas, etc. And then the third component here is going to be active projects. So once we've won the business, they have obviously paid us money and they're going to expect services, right? So this kind of marries the other main function of, or one of the other main functions of monday.com, which is of course project management, task management, getting actual work done in a timely, logical way. And so this is going to be, like a low level, just an example of a low level projects board. This is my creative team, my design team. And for example, they're working on video projects. So, this is kind of a very simple setup again, where you're creating the incoming projects. So Johnny's Cupcake stand, web video, again, just not getting into all the details, but you've got a project that you need to do. You've got someone you're assigning it to, status, due date, etc. So what we can do is actually use the link to item column to connect back to our customer's board. And I can say, okay, this is associated with this person, with this customer. Here's my contact, here's their email address. So I can access that here directly. I can click on this and see all the details I need from my CRM board. So if I have any information or need clarity on anything, I can very quickly jump to that item in the other board and see all of the context, all the conversation. So just a nice, convenient way to link active work with your existing customers. And I can do it the other way too. So from this board, I can actually connect Johnny's Cupcake stand to any of the active projects that are going on for him. And maybe there's multiple things. So I can actually select, this is a new functionality with our link to item column. You can actually select more than one item from a single board. And if you do, you'll see this changes from the name of the item to say how many you've selected. And then you can come down here and open the details for either of the items if you prefer, and you can pull in the statuses of both items using mirror columns. I can also link all completed projects. So any work that I've done for a client, I can go ahead and upload the final product here. And again, this is just becoming a database, a place of record for my customers, my existing customers, and I can see insight from the very beginning of when they first found our website and said, hey, I might be interested in your services, all the way through to signing up, all the way through to actually doing work for them. And my account management and CS team can really deliver that wow experience the whole way by informing them, giving them this intelligence at their fingertips, and they can build actions based on all of that. All right, perfect. So I wanted to quickly spend a few moments just going over some examples of what a dashboard could look like for this, right? And again, I won't have enough time to explain all of these and the different ways that these are connected, but I just want to give an idea of how you can, as a business owner, CEO, or a team lead, start to set up dashboards based on these templates I've shown you to get actionable insight and understand really the health of your business, right? So we've done a few different things here. I'm looking at my won deals by month. So I've created a chart here that shows me broken down by month because I'm just seeing when the client became a customer. I'm using that column to inform this, and I'm using that as my x-axis. So I can see by dollar amount how much business I'm closing per month. Excuse me for 1 second. I want to know, what do I have in my active leads, and what stage are each of those in? So I've kind of identified sales qualified and proposal reviews. Those are pretty advanced stages of the sales process, and I identify those as opportunities. And so I can just get a count quickly to see on this battery widget how many are in each stage. And then this allows me to drill down. So on any of these statuses, if I click in, I can go in and quickly see, okay, perfect. Which ones have we identified as sales qualified leads? And I can see those and take action on those. What's my current pipeline look like? So this is just going to connect to specifically the forecasted value. So again, this isn't a total number of the deal size, because deal size is if you win the contract, but my forecast is going to tell me deal size based on the status that I'm in with that particular deal. So this is a much more accurate representation that I can actually forecast into my budget for the upcoming fiscal year and say, based on historical data, with all these deals in the pipeline, this is about how much I can expect to close. So I can do that. I can actually look at individual salesperson's performance. So I can understand that I'm doing a terrible job over here on the right, taking 236 days to close deals. Kelly needs to pick it up as well. Zach and AC are my superstars at 36 and 67 days. Here's another chart of this information, but this one I'm actually weighting by forecasted value. So I want to know, given deal size or potential deal size, what stages are we in? And I can see that about half of my total value is in a sales qualified stage, or proposal is another 23%. So that puts me in a pretty good place overall. And then I can look at some different things like a line chart to say how many deals are my individual sales reps closing per month, just a quick glance to understand their performance. What is our value of contracts that we have out, so I know how much business is out there potentially, just in pure dollars and cents. What's the average deal size? I think I would not be running my own small business if I was making an average deal size of $283,000, but I could pull that in based on the format that I had set up. Revenue of my one deal. So again, this is just going to total up everything that it is in the one group from my incoming leads board. And then this is just a timeline. So I'm connecting the timeline column to understand, based on the next action due, where everybody stands in terms of things that they have on their plate. So this is going to help me identify potentially bottlenecks or where I need to reallocate some of my resources. If somebody has 10 actions due this week, and I know that really our velocity is only more like 6 to 8, so I'm going to take some things off one person's plate and maybe reassign some deals based on that. Okay, so that is about all that I had to show you from here. Let's quickly review. I just want to go back over here and quickly review. What did we say? What do we need to have, right? Keep a record of all clients and associations. So we can do this by capturing it through an incoming form and keeping a record of everybody. And I can use the tags column to indicate which industry they're in and what company they work for. I can maintain all the contact information, phone, email, everything, very, very straightforward there. What is nice to have? Can I capture leads? So we can use forms to directly capture leads and take that out of the process. Worth noting too, that just because I'm using the forms, leads will come in through other means, phone, email, someone just having a conversation. So you can still enter leads manually on that board and fill out all the information. But of course, the form is going to be the simplest, most friction-free path to capturing leads. I need a record of communication through email, sending email out, and setting up Gmail or Outlook integration. I can keep a record of all my external communication. Ability to automate workflows. So I just showed you some, automations to notify when a new lead comes in, automations to predict my forecasted value based on the deal stage, automations to notify sales reps when something new has come in. So we've definitely been able to automate the workflow a bit. And I can see sales forecasts. So I showed you that in the sales forecast column, as well as on the dashboard and how we can tile that together. Thank you all so much for your time and attention today. I hope this was helpful. And if we can help with anything else, support@monday.com. We are always available. Thanks so much. Have an amazing rest of your week.